Tasties, welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast, your favorite things to listen to one Wednesday. Okay, but wait. I'm your fantastic host, Honore, with another glass of alcohol. And today I have with me my lovely mother, the one y'all may know as Nikita, if you are very close to me.
Hi, everyone. Don't know what else I was supposed to say there. But call me Nikki.
Or Nikita.
Actually, it would be Miss Nikita.
Yeah, Miss Nikita. Nikita, if you've seen that TV show.
That's right, La Femme Nikita. Is it that one or the other one?
La Femme Nikita?
Yeah, that's everything. Is it that one or just Nikita?
Are there two different TV shows?
It is. You got the old school one, which was La Femme Nikita. Then you have the new one, which was just flat out Nikita. All of them, I was a Russian assassin. Which that was me. That's my background story,
Right.
Right.
Which, y'all didn't hear that from here.
Exactly. Because then I had to kill you.
But yes, this is the one and only, the one that raised me all X amount of years. Yeah, all my life. I'm not going to give away my age here or anything.
No, but I'm not giving away mine either. I'm just going to say 21.
Right. Me too.
Yeah.
For legal purposes. But I'd say that we have an interesting topic to talk about today, but
we don't have a topic
at all. So we've got an interesting podcast, let's say.
And it shall be interesting in a great way.
So obviously I've known you all of my life. They known you from the 5-minute video that they hopefully have seen before this on the YouTube channel. If not, I guess with the 3 minutes that we've been talking. But give us a little background outside of, you being an assassin.
All right. Okay. So, as previously stated, I was a Russian assassin, hence the name Nikita. It comes from Russia. So, I'm a badass, okay? But real talk, I'm a registered nurse, mother of 3. I'm not going to say their ages because then I may have to kill you again. I have been a nurse for 8 years. I'm currently a dialysis nurse. And honestly, that's maybe some of what I like to talk about is kidney health. I noticed that when you were showing me a couple of previews, a lot of people talk about different health things, mental health, physical health, and all that stuff. But I really would love to raise awareness on kidney health. Because as African Americans, Black Americans, Blacks, whatever we're called these days, we are one of the most highest affected people in kidney disease. And we don't have a clue as to what causes it, how to prevent it, and how to help it. So
I'm sure sitting here like, what causes? I'm like, is that drinking?
No, not really. But
I'm
you might say
no.
say causes.
I'm good. No.
But no, so drinking is more so liver disease,
That's
Yeah. Medications, diet, poor dieting, high blood pressure. So stress causes high blood pressure. Being told you have high blood pressure, not taking your medications. Diabetes, which as African Americans, we tend to have a high risk for diabetes. So not taking care of that once you're told you have diabetes and, still continuing to not regulate your numbers and so forth can cause kidney disease. So it's a lot of things that can really be changed to help prevent it. And we just don't. Either we don't know because, take for example, I had a patient the other day, young kid, and he was like, yeah, about a couple of years ago, I was told that I had kidney disease, but that was all that I was told, And so they never told me, change your diet, you have high blood pressure, so take this blood pressure medicine. It was just like, hey, you got kidney disease, and that was it. And so he went many years before his kidneys failed, and then boom, they just crashed. He ended up in the hospital. And now I was telling him of different things to do to kind of help keep him at a good level as far as like, his kidney still being able to work, because even though they crash, it's different levels of which they can, continue to work. And you want to try to preserve as much of your kidney function as possible. And so when I was educating him on that, he said, well, why didn't they tell me all of this then? And I hear that far too often. You go into the doctors, they never mention your kidneys, and all of a sudden, oh, you got kidney disease, and you're like, 20%, whereas you started at 100%. Well, why didn't you tell me something within those 80%, before I got to this point? And so I like to raise awareness so that, number one, that that's something that when you do go to the doctor, you ask, how are my kidneys? Did you draw my kidney labs? So that you can start making awareness so that the doctor knows, hey, I'm educated on it. I want to know, I'm interested, and you can go from there,
Interesting. All that was very interesting to me. I think it's very interesting having a mom as a nurse. It's always like, what are you going to the doctor for?
Exactly.
What is this prescription for? What is that for? What in the world? Why am I seeing the insurance and you've gotten this, you've done that? And I'm just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I went to get coffee one day, and I don't know, I just talked to people, which more so people just talked to me, and the guy, I had my uniform on. He's like, oh, you on your way to work? What do you do? And I was like, I'm a dialysis nurse. Oh, he tells me his mom is a nurse, and he goes, yeah, I haven't had labs in a while. Hey, what do you think about this? And I was like, what? Why are you not asking your mom? But okay, yeah, I'm gonna go get my coffee. But I took the time to educate him, and told him the importance of getting his labs. And he's like, you know what? I never thought about that. Nobody's never told me. So I think I'll make an appointment. So, but labs is very, very important, So even for men who don't like to go to the hospital or the doctors, go once every year and have labs done. Even if you don't do anything else, you should always get labs done, because it tells you so much about how your body is functioning or their lack of.
Now y'all understand. We talk a lot about flossing on this podcast. And I don't think that they understand the severity of how much flossing means to me.
Yeah.
And she can attest to it. Like, as a child, I probably didn't used to floss as much, and now I'm like, are y'all flossing y'all's teeth?
It's important, because not flossing can actually cause heart disease. So people don't realize your teeth health affects your health, period. When you're not flossing, you build up plaque. Plaque then breaks down and goes into your heart and causes heart disease, and then you die of a heart attack.
See, y'all thought I was kidding.
Not to mention, if you don't take care of your teeth and you lose your teeth, how do you eat? So now that affects your diet, and now you're not eating healthy, because you can't chew the foods that you need, So, yeah.
No, I'm always on here. I'm like, floss your teeth, floss your... It's probably at least once episode where I'm just like, floss your teeth. Equate somebody, Crest, sponsor me for some floss. I'll control a lot of sales, I promise.
Yes.
But that's very interesting, because I never really thought about that. I actually, on TikTok, see a bunch of videos where it's like, TikTok and Twitter. Twitter obviously is not the videos, but I think it was actually the other day, and they were talking about a lady had passed out, or no, she was bleeding, having a nosebleed.
Okay.
And it was going on for a while, and they called the ENT and everything, and the ENT was like, oh, she's fine, it's just a normal nosebleed. And they were pretty much saying, in the paragraph, no, she's not fine.
Right.
And they're saying that the ENT didn't know that the girl who called the ambulance was in nursing school.
Okay.
And so they ended up getting her to the emergency room and stuff, and realized that she was supposed to losing too much blood. And I think that's something I've seen it a lot on TikTok, a lot on Twitter, where it's that a lot of African American POC are not getting the treatment that they should be getting,
right? Because
of the color of the skin. Obviously, you can't, you don't know if it's because of the color of your skin. You don't know, but and I guess essentially we don't either. But unfortunately, that's the thought that we have to go through. But I think it's just very interesting that is something that's raising more awareness, because even another video where it was someone had lost their baby because of something at the hospital, and most people will put that on the nurses, but it's really
the doctors.
Yeah,
the doctors
Exactly.
at the end of the day. So I want to throw that out there while everybody be trying to sue nurses and stuff. It's the doctors. We get our orders from the doctors. So don't go after the nurses. We trying to save you all. We trying to take care of you all. Okay? But on another note, um, education. Education is key. And I'm not saying, being an engineer, computer science and all that stuff, but educating yourself about health, period, your health. That way, when you do go into the hospitals, you go to the doctor's office and stuff, you know what to ask for. You know if what they're telling you is true. Did they run the proper tests? Not Google MD education, but like real education. Get a book.
That's my education. I hate
when the patient like, look, I gurgled. I'm like, no. I don't want to hear what Google told you, not Google MD, But just having that background knowledge, and then you'll know when somebody's doing something that they shouldn't be doing or they didn't do. Something as simple as when they draw up your medicine. Can I see what you drew up? That way I know for sure you're giving me what you're saying you're giving me. And that more so is what I'm not even gonna say is because you're African American, but people human, so they can make medication errors. So being able to be that second set of eyes, but ultimately as African Americans, making sure that you're not being mistreated. But yeah, I'm not the one doing it. That's all I want to say.
And I think that's definitely something that a lot of people need to know because honestly, truly, as much as I go to the doctor, I'm like, I just think about the fact that I don't want my blood drawn.
And that's the most important part.
and they know they're like, yeah, it's that time. And I'm like, have we not figured out a different way to do this? So as someone who's terrified of needles, I know that y'all can, if you're watching the video, see all my piercings and stuff, see my tattoos.
I'd have to say, those are the main ones. I have patients that come in, they tie it from neck all the way to their legs, and they're like, oh my God, I'm scared of needles. I'm like, what? What do you think? How was that done? A lot of needles. And they're like, no, I'm scared, And these are men, buff men, so no. I've seen it.
I think it's just the fact of like, I think it's the mental thing where it's like, if you move it just the wrong way, you might bruise my artery or
I don't think y'all thinking nothing about that.
Well, I'm definitely not, but like,
and neither are they.
But it's just something to also think about. And I do want to say, if y'all haven't gotten y'all's glasses poured up already, we are 14 minutes into this podcast, so you should have definitely gotten. And
in all honesty, I'm a glass ahead of y'all. It's just water. I ain't no alcoholic, okay?
I'm the one starting that tradition. Which, we're drinking some espresso martinis. What do you think?
Delicious.
Okay, good. I used a different alcohol with this one, so.
What did you use?
Coconut Malibu.
Oh.
So you can taste like a little coconut.
I do, and I like coconut.
Yeah, and then I used the, well, hold on, we may have to talk about this outside of the podcast. I don't want y'all taking my recipe.
Exactly.
Right.
No.
Find out once I open up my bar. But, oh yeah. I think it's just feeling like, I don't know, having the needle in there too long. I've definitely gotten better at it over the years that I've gone to the doctor. Practice makes close to perfect, I guess, but.
Yeah, there's no such thing as perfect.
Yeah. I will say when I went to the hospital and they tried to draw my blood and I was about ready to cry and hug somebody all at the same time. He went to, no, it was a girl. I don't know if it was her first time. I don't know. She went to stick the needle in. And I had already told them, I was like, y'all, I'm terrified of needles. And I didn't think, I was just getting like the CT or MRI or whatever it was.
One of those scans. That's the MRI.
MRI? Yeah.
Scare the heck out of you.
Good, exactly. And I'm sitting down, laying down. I'm like, okay, and he was like, all right, well, we gotta, put the needle in because they were given
the contrast.
Contrast. I never know what it's called.
Yeah.
Like the volume, but that's not bad.
Oh, and just to raise a little bit of awareness with that, some contrast can actually cause kidney failure. So be sure to ask your doctor when they say, I want to send you for an MRI or CT scan with contrast. Be like, hey, doc, is that going to affect my kidneys? Those are the type of questions you have to ask.
Does it make you throw up?
So contrast period can cause that, but it doesn't mean that it's going to cause kidney failure or damage.
Because when I tell you the throw up that
it's the warmth. You know, it comes through warm. That could have been what caused you to throw up, and you could have been having a reaction to it when you were younger. You had oh God, did you have a reaction to one? It wasn't really bad, but it was like you was on some drugs or something. It was really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, like I just remember being on after they finally because they tried this arm.
Did it burn going in?
Well, I didn't feel it going in. I felt it once it was in because they just once I got under, I think is when they said they were like gonna start it.
Okay.
And so they tried to do this arm. The girl was like, "Oh, your needles are just not, or your veins aren't visible. This, that, and the other." I'm like, I've never heard that a day in my life. I'm like, first off, I'm looking at.
You should be like, "Ma'am, can I have another person?"
Right. Well, she said that after the fact that she missed my doggone veins. Then the guy, he was like, and tried to do this arm, and I'm like, you got one shot.
Tried. Did he miss? Because I'm looking at veins now. Okay.
That's what I'm like.
I will say this one looks a little bit better than that one, but yeah, you do have them where you can see them. Some people, yeah, everybody's not great like that.
Well, if you can see them without it, imagine if you clamp in my arm.
That's true.
And I'm looking at the vein. I'm like, no, I've gotten my blood drawn quite many times. I'm like, hey, the guy out there just drew my labs. You're telling me you can't see them?
Yeah, that's bad.
I'm like, oh my goodness. And so then I went under the machine.
In it?
Well, I mean, theoretically both.
No, you ain't go under it.
Well, I mean, if I'm under and inside, I went in and under the machine. Then they're like, we're going to start it. It was like, you're going to feel warm. You're going to feel like you need to pee, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, oh, okay. I also still have my AirPod in, but I asked them if I could have that in.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, and they're like, try not to say anything, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, but if you feel weird, let us know. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, wow, I feel really warm. And then I'm like, oh, there's like the pee. And then I'm like, oh, but wait, I'm feeling too warm. Like I feel like I'm about to throw up. You know when you get like that salty, like
watery.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to hold it in, and I'm like, I'm about to throw up. And they're like, huh? And I'm like, I'm about to throw up. And I was like, Charles, I'm about to throw up.
Oh, wow.
And it was so loud. It was so much. This was also during the time of the pandemic.
Oh.
So I still had my mask on.
Jeez.
It was awful. It had got all on my shirt. I was like, oh my goodness. Still have my AirPod in. So the person that was on the phone just got an earful.
Oh, that's disgusting. Can you imagine the sound of that?
It was so aggressive.
Yeah.
It's like, I know. Luckily, they were able to get the scan done, but yeah. But I think it's interesting because it's like, I told this, like, obviously asking you what it was, but I'm just like, I had no idea what they were doing. I still don't even know what they were, like, what it was.
Well, what was?
Everything.
No.
This is when y'all know, I've had that gastrointestinal infection at the beginning of last year. I couldn't tell you what the infection was, probably because I didn't continue with it.
Or continue to ask questions.
Exactly. They prescribed me the medicine. Don't know what the medicine is. Didn't know any of the things that they were doing. I'm like, didn't y'all just draw my labs? Now y'all want to do this? Now y'all want to do that?
So again, awareness.
Yeah.
Asking
but they sure
questions.
did remember to charge me that hefty bill.
Exactly. So you paying those hefty bills. You need to know what you're paying for. You should be educated about that information. You know, what labs are you drawing? What were the results? Don't just draw labs and not tell me what the results were, you know. Looking at the lab, seeing it, because sometimes there are abnormal things on it. But say if it's a kidney doctor and it showed you had cancer, they may just focus on the kidney and not the cancer, you know, even though those labs are usually not drawn together, but just throwing that out there, you know. you may show that you have an infection, but if it's not kidney related, they may not say anything about the infection, you know. So just making sure that you know what your lab results are, and then asking questions. Hey, I see that this is abnormal. What does that mean? What are we going to do about it? You know, um, medications. What does this medication affect? What are the side effects? You know, is it going to be a medication where now I have to take another medication, meaning this caused constipation and nausea. So now I got to take a nausea pill. I got to take a constipation pill, you know. And in certain instances, maybe that may be okay if it's something that is very crucial for you to have to feel better. And then these side effects, meaning having to take the nausea pill and the constipation pill, is just temporarily. Then that's okay, you know. But educating yourself, you know, asking questions. Don't just take, you know, anything, you know, and don't know why. What's you know, what is the why behind this? Why am I taking this? What is it? What results are we looking for? You know,
And do your own research as well.
Right.
That plays a huge part of it because, yeah, you're putting it into your body. I'm very big on like that. Like, do the research on whatever it is, whether it be your milk.
Yes.
Make sure it's good milk. So it, you know, it goes the same thing, and I understand that most of y'all are probably going to people that you hopefully trust. If you're not, I would start.
Speaking of trusting, because this one drives me insane. Having a doctor that you don't trust or you feel like they don't have your best interests at heart. Why are you going to them? There are a gazillion doctors out there. Move on and find another one. You know, ask for help to find a doctor. You know, ask other people who are they using. Don't let that insurance be the cause. You know, oh, well, my insurance. No, you can find a different doctor. There's still a lot of doctors under whatever insurance you have. So don't be paying money, or don't just not go because you don't like your doctor. You need to have your labs and stuff drawn. So find a doctor that you trust and go to the doctor. But don't keep the one you don't trust, don't like, or you feel like they don't like you. You know. But anyway, what were you saying?
No, I mean that really was it. Just do as much as they're giving you the facts and telling you all this. You also need to make sure that you're doing the research as well, because let's be honest, there's times where they may be in training. Yes. It's like they could be mixing one thing with another thing. And, I mean, we're human, so it's times where it's like, oh, well, this is what you need, or this is what this does, yada, yada, yada. And they're like, oh, crap, I'm sorry. Let's be honest, these names, acetaminophen, like what? I'm sure that there's times where they're like, oh, well, you know, actually, that's not the right thing, because we're human. So make sure you're doing your own research just to make sure that you also understand. You also, if the side effect does happen, then okay, it's, you know, it's not something else going on. It's the side effect of this, and if you feel like it's the side effect of that, then now you know. You know.
And speak up. You know, don't have a side effect and. Don't call the doctor and say, hey, this is what's going on. This is something different. This is new, you know. It's been many times I have a patient, they go home and they come back, you know, almost a month later, and they're like, oh, yeah, you know, by the way, 3 weeks ago I had blah, 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 blah going on. And it's like, well, blah, blah, blah could have killed you. Why am I just not hearing about this? You know, so pick up the phone and call. You know, the nurses are there. So you may not speak directly with the doctor, but speak with the nurse and, you know, get some resolution or something, or, you know, some advice or something. Yeah. And another thing, I got short-term memory. No, I don't, but I do. It was something you said that I wanted to.
Don't just stop taking the medicine as well. Ask the doctors.
Especially, okay, so another thing. Number 1, antibiotics. Take them all. Number 2, stop saying you have a cold and you want antibiotics. A cold is a virus, not bacteria. Antibiotics are for bacteria, not viruses, okay? That is how you end up with, what is it called? Antibiotic resistant. Can't think of it right now, but the bacteria becomes resistant to certain antibiotics, and so then it makes it harder to treat that bacteria. So please stop just taking antibiotics just because, okay? But also just taking your medication, period. You on a blood pressure medicine, don't willy-nilly it. Don't be like, oh, you know what, today my blood pressure feel fine, so I'm not going to take it. Your blood pressure is fine because of that blood pressure medicine. That is how you end up with kidney disease, playing around with your medicines. So please take your medicines as prescribed. If you feel like it's too much or too little, or you want to change something, talk it over with the doctor. They will listen. If they don't, you need a new doctor. But don't play around with your medicines, okay? You didn't get a degree. And if you feel like you know better, then go get that degree, okay?
Speaking of, because I kind of want to shift into that. You said that your mom through you're a registered nurse. You've been a registered nurse for 8 years. What kind of made you want to get into that field? Obviously, I've seen you work your way up into it and everything. But what made you want to get into that? I'm actually gonna have you answer that. We're gonna take a quick break.
Okay.
Fill up y'all's glasses.
And return. Because it's going to get juicy, baby.
Okay. And make sure to hit that subscribe button and share this video out if you haven't already.
What's the name of the podcast again?
Okay, but wait.
Huh?
Okay, but wait.
Okay, but wait. So that's what this topic is going to be. Okay, but wait. What is the topic? Nobody knows, but it's all good.
And we are back. I hope y'all filled up y'all's glasses. And I hope y'all subscribed as well. If you didn't, that's a little bit awkward. We're dropping all these facts and stuff, and
you're not getting it.
You know. I see how y'all are going to be with your medical history still.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't learn anything yet, huh?
But, so you've been a registered nurse for 8 years. Obviously, let's see, 21, so you started.
I know, right? About 13.
She knew from a very young age. No.
Exactly.
But during that time frame, obviously you had me. I think you had my little sister.
I did.
So, I mean, what was, the driving force of you, one, wanting to become a nurse, but two, how did you, I guess, manage the stress?
Because it is very stressful. But just to give you a little bit of background, real talk. So let's see, I had you, and I was in accounts payables. So I originally was, I would say when I first got out of high school, I was looking into going into accounting. I worked in accounts payables, and it was so redundant that I realized I didn't want to do that. Really great with numbers, so that's why I went that route. And so prior to having you, I actually had went to school for engineering because, in grade school, my teachers always told me, you're so great with numbers, you should go to school for engineering. Never told me it was like a gazillion different engineers programs. And so I go to school, I was like, I want to do engineering. They're like, what kind of engineering? I was like, oh, what are my options? Okay, all right, I'll just pick one. So again, education, asking questions and, doing research. But anywho, so I went to school for a semester at Southern University in Baton Rouge, studying electronic engineering. Dean's List, did really well. Came back to Chicago because I couldn't afford to continue to go there, and went to Chicago State University, still electronic engineering with a minor in computer engineering with a lot of computer science. We finished a computer science class, Fortran, COBOL, C++, and it was like each time it would be obsolete. It's like, whoa, I'm going to be forever in computer science classes before I finish my degree, and I'm going to finish, and then they're going to be like, everything you learned was obsolete. So I decided against that. Fast forward, met your dad, had you, and I went into a postpartum depression. So I know you had, I guess, Sawyer or someone on here talking about mental health. And it's real, I, at the time, did not realize that's what it was, but years later, my husband and I were talking, and he talked about times when he would come home, and I would just be sitting there staring off into space, and the baby's there, and he's crying, But I ended up quitting my job where I was making really good money, and I quit and I signed up for interior design school. Don't know why. I did want to do architectural, and I guess I felt that was the closest thing to it. And I started getting a lot of migraines because I had the baby. I was going to school, and so I started getting a lot of migraines because it was stressful. And I went to one of these prestigious schools, and they wanted you to have the real material and everything. Well, I just quit my job. I couldn't afford the real stuff, so I would get knockoff stuff. And it looked great. Don't get me wrong, but at the time I had a teacher that was like, it had to be the real thing. Forget the fact that you can't afford it. You probably shouldn't be here at the school if you can't afford it. That was their mentality. Yep. Not to mention, I would have a migraine, and they would see me in the hallway, and I'm laughing it up, and then all of a sudden I can't make it to class. And back then, not to make this sound like that was many years ago, but there was not a lot of information or awareness on migraines and how it is so debilitating. So anywho, I quit going there, and so I was out of school, jobless, and I had a baby. And so my mother, who had been a nurse for like ages, 20-some years.
She making her
15 years, let me rephrase that. But she was like, you really should go to school for nursing. Even when I went for engineering, she would always say that. I'm like, Mom, I'm not trying to wipe anybody's butt, because to me that's what nursing was.
Right now.
I'm wiping his butt though, but so my husband, which was my boyfriend at the time, or baby daddy, he told me to talk with his dad and see if he could help me get a job. And so I got a job at a group home for mentally disabled young adults, and I was wiping butts. But it was great. I saw how I impacted their lives. I helped them have fun. They enjoyed being around me. They enjoyed the things that I brought to them. And I was making like $9 an hour. And I was like, oh my God. I just went from like $25 an hour to $9 an hour. My life has to change. And so I started out going to school as a CNA. I became a CNA and was like, I'm wiping butts and I'm not making that much money. And so I became a phlebotomist. And I was a phlebotomist. I never worked it though. Unfortunately, it's hard to get into that field, even though I was great at it. I'm talking about great. When I was doing my rotations, people would literally request me. They would tell other people who would come to draw their labs, like, no, I want Nikki, I ended up moving, so I couldn't do it. But when I came here to Texas, it was just hard to get into the program or get into the field. But anywho, so I then started school for nursing, and that just launched everything, And as far as the struggle is real. Those classes are hard. You got a little kid, I probably couldn't have done it without my mom and my sisters who would, babysit Andre and, help make sure he had a meal when he came home.
I was a great child.
Very demanding, but no. And so they helped watch him while I would go to school. And I got a lot of migraines even then. So that just tells that how stressful it is. It is very stressful. But I did it, and actually, I am so lying. Andre was like, I'm not going to say his age, but he was a little bit older. So actually, by then I had a second child.
I was like, so wait, I was like, wait, we're in Texas. I know about my son. I have a little sister.
Disregard all of that. So,
rewind.
All right. So no. So actually, I did the phlebotomy and all of that stuff, and then just kind of took little classes too. Because what I had decided to do was you can do either associate degree nursing or you can do a bachelor's degree nursing. And I made up my mind that I would do whichever one came first. So I applied to associate degree nursing programs as well as bachelorette degree programs. And but I worked towards the bachelor degree program. So I would take prereqs like you have to have sciences for both of them. There were things like statistics that you don't have to have for your associates, but you have to have for your bachelor's degree. So I took that. Chemistry, you only have to have for your bachelor's degree. You don't have to have it for your associates. So I took that. That way when if I got into the bachelorette program, I already had those classes. All I had to do was focus on my bachelor degree nursing program classes.
Bachelorette program.
It's called a BSN, Bachelor Degree of Science in Nursing.
What's called the Bachelorette program?
Oh shit, it's not a bachelorette program.
Because I was like, wait.
He gonna have to do a lot of editing.
Me not being
bachelor's.
I'm like, I'm not in school. Is that something I can do?
It's the drink, okay?
Yeah,
it's the drink.
I need you to be like this.
But yeah, the bachelor's degree.
But I mean, essentially by this time, theoretically, were you not a bachelorette?
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't. So by the time I actually started the program, your dad and I were married.
Oh.
Now, I was living like a bachelorette because your dad came to Texas to lay a foundation down. His job relocated, and I stayed back with you and your sister, who at the time was new. Like she was a couple of months when I started the program, and so I was studying, working a little bit, not a lot. Doing my nursing classes and everything, and I had a new baby, and I had you. And Dad was here in Texas, and I made it happen. I really did, and I'm very happy that I did. Don't get me wrong, nursing itself still is very stressful. It is very mentally draining, but it's very rewarding. What you say?
What I say?
Yeah. So all your friends say you spoiled.
I was like, I don't know. I've never done the program. I don't want to wipe butts.
It's really I know, right?
But I will say, it's definitely, I mean, you definitely handled it well. Obviously, I didn't know half of this stuff, but yeah, I mean, I was spoiled as a child. And I guess it just makes me being spoiled as a child, not having like the background of what it was that you were going through and everything, even more better, because it's like, I don't know, like I just, not recently, but I just read a book and the person had postpartum, and it was very interesting to hear all that.
Yeah, that's not something that I usually share, but since I saw your little video clip, I just figured it's something that people need to be aware of, that it happens to any and everyone. And it's nothing to be ashamed of, but if it gets really bad, it's something you should get help with, because that could have went all wrong had your dad not, really been there, So, but another thing that I wanted to make awareness of, and I got this face because I don't remember what it was. It was something you said. Oh, how he said, I didn't know you went through all of this. I didn't know, pretty much the background of everything. And to all you youngins, you just never know what your parents went through. And so just cut them a little bit of slack, and you just don't know the struggles or the things that they've sacrificed, just to get you to where you're at or to provide for you. So when you think that they're being selfish or unfair or unjust or whatever you're thinking, just know that it could be a reason behind it, and you just don't know the backstory for it, and just be more appreciative, because you just don't know. It's a lot of stuff, I mean, hey, you be like, Mom, you need to go get this and that, and I've been so used to just sacrificing for my children that, I still don't go really get my nails done. Hey, look at this little nail. I just found out it costs $5 to get this removed. $5.
And I think it behooves me because I'm like, good Lord, I make a fraction, and I'm still like, just yesterday, I'm like, golly, I guess I'm not gonna go get my nails done because I gotta pay $200 for a battery. But then I looked at him and I was like, when there's a will, there's a way. When there's a nail shop, there's me too. But and that's actually interesting that you do say that because I just saw a TikTok the other day, and the girl was talking. She was saying how she was talking to her mom, and she was talking about her therapy lesson.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I
think you saw
I said to y'all. I was like, what?
But it was real, though. It
Yeah.
was real, yeah.
And I think it's...
But tell them about it.
Yeah.
They don't know about it.
She was pretty much telling her mom about her therapy, and her mom was saying, like, wow, like, I never realized, like, that was something that I guess she had experienced, or, like, that was something that she had experienced, but she didn't know that's what it was. Something along the lines of that, but, a lot of your parents have grown up, or just, that generation, I guess you could say, has grown up pretty much going through the stress, or going through the motions, or going through something, but not knowing how to actually deal with it. Whereas with the younger generation, us, we are learning that, we got to put ourselves first. We got to, do that, get that mental health, And, I sent it to my parents, obviously, it's just that. And I'm a very big, like, therapy. Like, I think everyone should go to therapy at least once. I don't know what you're going to get out of the first session because that's really your introductory session, but I think that no matter what age you are, what it is that you're going through, you could be Salad Sunshine herself and go to therapy because you never know. You could be Salad Sunshine because there's actually something that you're really trying to suppress.
Right. Not to mention, you may be going through some things, or you may respond and react the way you do to things because you have suppressed something that you don't even know you've suppressed. Mm-hmm. And you'll have some people who will say, oh, well, if it's suppressed, leave it suppressed. Why deal with it? Because you're reacting to it. You just don't realize what it is that you're reacting to. So you bring it to the surface, you deal with it, and now you can move on. You can live life better. So, yeah, mental health is very important. And you're right. I would say the generation before me more so, they went through a lot, and, physical abuse that they didn't realize was, that was one of the things it was talking about too. Or maybe I was reading the reviews, the comments, and, people were saying how, our parents were physically abused and they don't even realize they were. And, and then that's real because, and then you reciprocate it. So you were physically abused, not realizing you were physically abused. You just felt like you were getting whoopings. And then you in turn did the same thing to your children. And
take it just a little bit off because you realize
that it was detrimental to you, but you're still doing it, And so maybe 3 generations down, they get to a point where they stop whooping, but then that might be when they need them. But no, but it's not until your child says something to it, right?
3 kids now.
Are you talking about your brother? But anyway, but it's not until your children say something and you're open to hearing it, and that's the key is being open. I always said some things where maybe in a moment we might lash out, but deep back we'll think about it, like you kind of got a point. Let me reassess things. Even your sister, she drives me crazy, but sometimes I'll take what she said to heart and see how I can do things differently. But everybody doesn't do that.
Yeah, because everyone reacts to something different. Obviously, I've never been a parent. I don't plan on being a parent for many years. When I can afford it. I appreciate you for sacrificing, but I don't think I'm ready to sacrifice just yet. So, but everyone's going to respond to something differently. I always tell people, I've got a friend that's about to have a child, and I'm just like, you got to give what you got, ultimately.
Right.
But everyone's parenting styles is also very different. The way that you may respond to something that your kid does is not the same way that your mom or your dad or X, Y, and Z, your friend, will respond to something. and every person is different. So you may say something to me where I was just like, oh, it is what it is. But if you say something to my sister,
she's gonna take it totally different.
She's gonna take it completely different. And she's a Capricorn. I'm a Libra. Y'all know how I feel about that. But I don't always take things to heart. And if I do, it is what it is ultimately. But needless to say,
throwing signs out there. I'm a Scorpio.
Now y'all know her. But as a child, you have to realize, or as your parent's child, not as a child, you also have to realize that for 18, hopefully 18, plus years maybe, your parents have instilled in you. But things are forever changing, so you also have to instill in your parents. And that, I think, is something that, after moving out, has been something that I've definitely been pushing more towards. I'm sure they're tired of me coming, as much as they love seeing me. It's like 15 minutes, and they're like, okay, you gotta go, because I come in with a mission. I'm like, okay, what's the next topic to talk about for 3 hours today?
And trust me, it'd be a 3 or 4 hour topic. Anyone try to say we holding him hostage.
I'm like, good Lord, I haven't left my car started. Now I'm over here on a tangent.
Don't know why he does that.
Because I'm like, maybe if it started, I can just leave, get on out. No, 3 hours later, here I am at 0 miles. But you have to understand that. One, speak up. And I know some people may see it as a respect thing, where it's like, I'm parent, your child, this, that, and the other. And so you have to try a different approach. But if you give up, then you're not going to be able to establish that relationship, And I will say there's been times where, as a child, it's like, yes, I'm very much so a yes person. Yeah, okay. If I do that to you, I've mentally just closed it off. But as an adult, I've had to realize that, no, what you have to say may not be, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Does everyone have to give their opinion? No. Does that mean that your opinion is wrong? No. Does that mean that your opinion is right? No. But opinions open up conversations, and conversations open up thoughts and interpretation. So give your opinion. If you're able to give it, pretty much, is what I'm trying to say. Would you agree?
I agree.
Yeah, I will say it. I'm a mama's boy. I'm sure I've said it on the podcast before. I'm a mama's boy. And I feel like after leaving, like, that connection has grown closer. Yeah. So if you feel like you've got a not so great connection with your parents because you do feel like, well, they're always yelling at me, they're always bitching, they're always doing this, X, Y, and Z, yada, yada, yada. They never see my this.
Did he say bitching? No, just kidding.
Well, I will say that's probably the best thing you've heard of. They're always just, doing this and never seeing my side of it. Maybe you have to take a different approach, If you've got siblings, talk to your siblings. See,
that might help them not get their necks broke.
Yeah, I'll hear them talking to my little sister, and I'm not gonna lie, some of the things she says, I'm just like, girl, what are you talking about? But obviously, if you're closed off to what your parents are saying, then what they're gonna say next is just not gonna make sense to you.
Right.
So sometimes your sibling, when you talk to them, that opens the door to be like, okay, well, you gotta understand that this, that, and the other, you haven't seen this walk of life, or you haven't had to experience that, or your siblings know a different side of your parents than you are going to know. Because me and my sister, we're 6 years apart. So I've known this woman for 6 years before she knew her, So taking that advice from them is definitely going to help. And then you'll be able to have those conversations. And same thing with the siblings who's giving the advice. Don't go to your sibling and talk about, don't mark down their throat. That's not what they want to hear. You gotta take a different approach. And be like, well, maybe this, that, and the other. Yes, I understand what you're saying, but you also have to understand this. Be the reason.
Yeah, because they don't listen. She still don't believe I'm an assassin.
Exactly. But I feel like I definitely want to say, like, I thank you for, like I said, one of my friends is, actually a lot of, I don't know what it is. I feel like I go on Instagram and it's another baby popping up. I'm like, good Lord, y'all must have baby fever. Y'all keep it though, because I can, oh my goodness, I can do it. And
No, live your life, then have children. When you're completely ready, you know, um, mentally, physically, emotionally, because it does take a lot from you. Oh, did I not say financially? Oh.
I think that's the main thing. I'm just like,
but you know what?
I will say, well, because I don't want you to forget what you're going to say, so.
Right, I know, right? But I was going to say, so financially, unless you just flat broke, you will, like you said, if there's a will, there's a way. You'll figure out a way.
Yeah.
But you do have to be mentally ready, physically and emotionally for children, because life changes from the time that you, as a woman, really from the time that those hormones start to kick in. But as a man and everything else, or a boy, who knows when you get, having babies, but life changes. You don't have, right. Your freedom is not your freedom anymore. And if you feel like you still have freedom like that, you're not that right parent. If you're not sacrificing, you're not that right parent. But life changes, so you have to be ready.
Yeah, really, from the moment that you find out that you're pregnant.
Yeah.
It changes.
It does.
And
your body changes, everything. You have to be ready for that.
Yeah. And I want to make it known that you're fully capable of doing it.
Yeah. I did it.
Yeah.
Going to school, technically singly, because, like I said, by the time I went to nursing school, my husband was in Texas. So, and honestly, it wasn't like he was sending money there. So I was working a little bit, and I did, depend on public assistance some as well. I had Andre and his sister, a new baby, and and I made it happen. So you can do it. Like I said, if there's a will, there's a way. But you mentally, you have to be ready for it. You have to have a goal in mind, and you have to strive to it. Don't let anything get in your way, even if it means leaving that guy. But you have to do it. Put your mind to it. You can do it.
Yeah.
Period.
Well,
boom.
Okay.
Drop the mic.
Okay. Well, honestly, truly, I feel like we can close it off on there. I typically ask if there's any advice to give.
I think I gave a lot.
I'm like, this has just been all sorts of advice. But I very much so enjoyed having you on this podcast. Obviously, I was a bit nervous at first. Y'all can't tell, she hasn't listened to any of the other episodes, so she said, probably for the better. I always told y'all. Actually, there's an episode in there where I'm like, Mom, if you listen to this, please turn it off.
I almost feel like all of them might say that.
Well, definitely the ones in the previous podcast, because I was still living under that roof, and I still needed to live up under that roof. So, but now it's all free reign. If you hear something,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. But no, I honestly truly do thank you for coming on to this episode. As we said, we didn't have a topic to talk about, but it seems like we were able to create one, and hopefully y'all were able to, I mean, if you didn't gain any information from this, I don't know what you were listening to. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed your time here.
I did, and thank you for inviting me. I was nervous about it because I did not have a topic, and I think it went well, though. And I didn't want to make you nervous. I know you said we make you nervous, so I hope you... See, we had those type of conversations, but I just hope that you enjoyed it as well. And I hope you all enjoyed it, and like you say, click subscribe, come back, and tell everybody about this podcast.
Yeah, especially your parents, because I think if you don't have that relationship with them, just send this. Literally, just send it to them. Yeah. No, just send it. Like, no text, no nothing. Just here you go. Especially to your older parents, like, because the beginning
I don't know how many other parents you would have.
Well, your old, like the old, like your grandparents and stuff, or I don't even know if they can listen to it.
You know what? Even your grandparents, because that may even rekindle or fix the relationship that they have with your parents. So yeah, that's a really great idea.
Yeah, and not only that, because that's really the second half of the podcast.
Exactly.
But the first part of it, we talked about actual health.
Right.
So let them know.
About that.
Yeah, exactly. So let them know. But I'm your host, Andre. I'm so happy that y'all tuned in to yet another episode, season 3. And I hope that y'all have, 1, finished your glasses, 2, subscribed to the podcast and shared it out. Because without that, where are we going? No. And 3, have a wonderful day. Don't forget to tune into next week's episode. Again, I'm your host, Andre.
I'm your host, La Nikita.
Exactly. And peace out.
Peace.